of your company that you see. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear forum guests. I would like to thank Mr. Ishikawa for your welcoming words. I am confident that the work of the First Eastern Economic Forum will provide the basis for creating a constantly active platform for discussing relevant issues of development and expansion of the cooperation of Russia with Asian Pacific region countries and promotion of the correspondent projects and programs. I would like to pass on words of sincere gratitude to our partners who agreed to participate in the forum. Over these days, we prepared important business agreements with them. The atmosphere of the forum is conducive to signing mutually beneficial contracts and agreements. The venue of the forum, the participants' composition, the topic of our roundtable, and the current world economic situation dictate the relevant problems of the discussion that we need to discuss. In this context, I would like to mention a number of general issues and the practical work of our company with our partners from the Asian Pacific region. Now that our report has a number of discussional or debatable provisions, I would like to mention certain aspects of limited liability. Today, we already broached upon the issue of the role and place of the Asian Pacific region in the global economic development and the issues of energy security of this the rapidly developing region. So I would like to mention that this region is still energy deficient, particularly in terms of the participation of these countries in oil and gas production. Right now, even without the demand of Russia, these needs are covered by imports. As a result, the imports should grow, according to our calculations, by 2.5 times. Up to 850 million tons and up to 1.5 trillion tons by 2045. Due to the geographical proximity and huge proven reserves, of course, the oil supplies and resource supplies from Russia are very competitive. For example, Russia has a lot of clusters in the Far East, and from Australia and the United States it's 6,000 kilometers, whereas from Russia it's 4,000 kilometers. So our major partner in the Asian Pacific region, China, understands the advantages of cooperation with Russia. Over the past 10 years, from 2005 till 2014, mutual trade grew by more than threefold and reached almost $100 billion. The annual oil and oil product supplies from Russia grew by 20 times to 36 million tons, with the potential for growth till 50 million tons by 2020. And a large share of this amount is provided by our company. Over the past decade, we supplied more than 150 million tons of oil and oil products to China, and that's growth by almost 5.5 times. Our goal is to provide total oil and oil products supplies to China at more than 800 million tons by 2038. We have already invested about $5 billion in joint projects with our Chinese partners, and we are ready to invest in existing and promising joint projects an amount of more than $30 billion. As a result, our total cooperation volume with our Chinese partners until 2035 will exceed $500 billion in the current prices, and I emphasize this, but of course this figure is going to grow. Because of the changes in the price parameters on the global markets, the analysts are used to the fact that in terms of proven oil reserves and gas reserves, Russia is not an absolute leader today, following behind such countries as Venezuela and Saudi Arabia. But the potential resource base of the hydrocarbons of the Russian Federation is largest in the world. For example, the potentially recovered gas reserves are estimated at 220 trillion cubic meters in Russia, which is more than twice as much as that in the United States of America. It's less well known that there is the same situation with the oil reserves. They're estimated at 400 or 500 billion barrels, however, which is much more than in the United States, Iraq, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. You can see those figures on the slide. The important thing is how we are able to involve the resource base of Russia in the economic development of the Asian-Pacific region. In other words, create this energy bridge, Russia-Asia-Pacific region. Please note that the largest oil production projects of Russia are much cheaper than those of its competitors and are at the level of the Persian Gulf. Over the last few years, the operational expenses per unit were $5 to $7 per barrel, and actually this figure reduced to $2.8 per barrel. And even if the oil prices go down, in the cheapest scenarios, we can provide supplies to our partners, and our partners can get their investments back. We can see that oil production in Russia is becoming more and more lucrative because the total profit is 50% higher than the capital investment in Russia, which is better than the average in China, India, Myanmar, and Vietnam, where in the context of a great decrease in prices, it was below zero. So our internal rate of return is 50 or 100% higher than that of our partners. As a result, there is every ground to state that the most efficient and promising area of investment is the oil and gas sector of Russia. The current potential of oil production in Russia is much higher than today's levels. Our position is that Russia's annual oil production can reach 700 million tons and even more. At least these are the long-term plans of the Rosneft company. At the same time, achieving such levels of oil production requires more intensive geological surveys and design and research work, increasing the production at hard-to-recover reserves, which means that the energy bridge between Russia and other Eastern countries is really feasible. It's only the matter of investments, favorable conditions, and of course adequate oil prices. Rosneft already produces 35 million tons of oil and more than 7 billion cubic meters of gas every year. The fields that we use are the Vankorskaya, Verkhnychonskaya, and Srednyotubinskaya fields. And the total production of hydrocarbons is more than 0.8 billion tons of oil and gas condensate and about 0.6 trillion cubic meters of gas, or 600 billion cubic meters of gas. In the few years to come, we're planning to maintain the production levels at those fields and start commissioning the new ones. Our company has a unique portfolio of new, large and efficient projects in eastern Siberia, and we involve our financial and technological partners. The resource potential of this interaction is characterized by the fact that the total recoverable reserves under the new projects are estimated at 2.2 billion tons of oil and condensate and almost 1.5 trillion cubic meters of gas. The planned extraction will exceed 30 million tons per year in 2022 and 16 billion cubic meters of gas. The company has already started to form a unique cluster of fields around Vankor. The total extractable reserves of the fields being commissioned is more than 400 million tons of oil and gas condensate. We are using the existing transport and energy and gas infrastructure around Vankor and mechanisms of government support, which will enable us to fully commission this cluster in 2019. We are building pipelines with a capacity of 60 million tons of oil per year and introduce new oil pipelines, Zaporizhzhia-Purpik, Yumbo-Taizhey, which will ensure the necessary pipeline infrastructure for the beginning of development of larger fields in the region by Rosneft. Rosneft has large gas reserves in the south of eastern Siberia and Yakutia, about 1 trillion cubic meters, and between 2012 and 2014 the sales of gas by our company grew fivefold. Our priority gas projects are Rospan, Sibneftegas, Harampur, the Kinsky-Chaselsky licensing section development project, and others. And the total gas reserves of the continental part of the east of Russia amount to 8.7 trillion cubic meters, while the resource potential is 33.2 trillion cubic meters, which means that our potential is at least 300 billion cubic meters per year. Achieving such exports volumes will require very careful attitude to the development of the transport infrastructure. An important area of this work is the development of LNG capacities and petrochemical plants in the east of Russia.
We are planning to commission our new plant in the coming year with the capacity of 5 million tons per year, and in the near future to enlarge its capacity to 10 million tons per year. All these projects are open for cooperation and collaboration with potential partners in the sphere of exchange of assets and cooperation. The recovery of liquid hydrocarbons in Russia, all in all, and gas in a number of exporting regions in the coming perspective is connected with the shelf development. Currently, Rosneft has 51 licenses for the Russian shelf with an estimated resource base of 309 billion cubic meters. We have created a number of incentives for the development of the shelf and a system which is conducive to the development of the shelf. A tax base stimulating the development of the shelf has been endorsed, and as of 2014 we have attracted $1.2 billion of foreign financing for a geological survey. As far as prospecting and exploration exploration of the shelf of the Far East is concerned, we are aiming at the development of the resources of the shelf of the northern and far eastern seas. We have a number of technological records set in Arkutundag, which is using the best drilling platform, Berkut, which has become best in line. It is a unique sea platform which can be compared with the best practices all over the world. Berkut is a unique marine platform which can withstand waves up to 18 meters high and the pressure of ice fields. It weighs more than 200,000 tons, and the number of wells planned for drilling is approximated as 45. And Berkut has set a number of world records. In realizing the shelf products, we are building a cluster within the region of the Far East. And at the core of this project is a consortium with the active participation of Rosneft, which is participating in the project for the development of a shipbuilding complex, Zvezda, which is necessary for the development of the machine building industry of the region. The shipbuilding complex, Zvezda, will be oriented at civil production of highly technological transportation vessels, including ice-class vessels and drilling marine sites. The possible portfolio of orders may constitute approximately 1,400 units of ships and marine technology. This is a large-scale project, which is an anchor order open for foreign partners and investors. The projects for oil processing and petrochemical business have been created in the Far East. We are going to develop the oil complex on the basis of the already existing Angarsky plant of polymers, Achensky gas refinery, and on the basis of the project of the Far East OSC. The investments into modernization of the currently active plants is approximated as of 315 billion rubles. Our aim is to create a highly technological oil refinery and petrochemical complex which will be able to resolve a number of very important issues for the development of the infrastructure, for the usage of the unique possibilities which are created by the demand in petrochemical products. We are planning the development of 2 oil processing plants with a capacity of 12 million tons of raw materials, and the petrochemical plant with a capacity of 7 million tons. In Beijing, we have reached a strategic agreement with the Chinese National Chemical Corporation on its entry into the project as an investor. And in the TAD and within the framework of a free port in Vladivostok, we are going to create special conditions for advanced cooperation and collaboration within the framework of this project. I would also like to say that the realization of the projects does not depend on the short-term conditions of the market. Despite the volatility on the market, these projects will be highly economically efficient. The company is aiming at lowering costs and expenditures and using the tax benefits, cooperating with the government, receiving subsidies from the government, creating the market for maintenance of our equipment. As we see the potential for the creation of mutually beneficial ties and cooperation is in existence, and I hope that within a year's time, when we meet at the same platform, there will be new possibilities for development and the new perspectives of our cooperation. Thank you for your attention.